Today we bring you a story that took place in 1975. So prepare yourselves, because we bet you'll enjoy this tale. One day, a single mother and her 12-year-old daughter Eli were invited to a party at her grandparents' house. They were celebrating 40 years of marriage, and although their relationship with their daughter was pretty rocky, they still wanted to share such a special day with her and Eli. However, at the last minute, the mother decided to just leave Eli at the party and then go away. She didn't want to be there and had a lot of work to do. After the party, Eli's grandparents drove her to her house. However, they noticed something strange at the entrance, so they asked their granddaughter to wait in the car. Unfortunately, Eli decided to follow them into the house silently, without them noticing. What they found was absolutely horrifying. As soon as the grandma crossed the doorstep, she let out a terrifying scream. Her daughter was on the floor, dead, with an expression of true horror on her face. There was a note next to the body, which said, "Don't you dare answer them." Little Eli was frozen in shock, observing the body of her mother for the last time. The case was closed due to a lack of evidence of aggression, and the police declared it as a natural death. Eli then moved in with her grandparents, who took custody of her to raise her and give her love. They lived in an old military residential area. They hardly had any neighbors left, but they loved it there, precisely because of the peace and quiet of the place. Years passed. Eli grew up, and her grandparents would leave her alone in the house every now and then. One of those times, she was in the living room watching TV, when out of the blue she heard someone call her name. "Elizabeth." Her first reaction was to turn around to see who was calling her, but then she remembered that she was alone and thought that maybe it had been just the product of her imagination. Eli decided to go to bed, as her grandparents would be back soon. However, she once again heard someone calling her name. She thought that maybe her grandparents had arrived. "Yes, Grandma," she said. Nobody responded, so Eli insisted. When she received no response, she went downstairs to see if her grandparents had come back. But no, the house was completely empty. That made her feel very nervous, so she locked herself in her grandparents' room and grabbed a bat. Eli couldn't stop thinking about the day her mother died. Then, that voice called her yet again, and she would respond, but nobody would answer back. Eli was terrified, and all of a sudden, she heard the steps of someone running towards the room. She froze in place when she saw the door opening slowly. But then, nothing else happened. Eli decided to get up and look at the hallway. When she didn't see anybody there, she started to cry, frustrated at everything that was happening. She then grabbed her mobile phone and tried to call her grandparents, but the phone had no signal. It was all like a nightmare, and when she still had the phone on her ear, she heard the same voice through it. "Elizabeth." She threw her phone as far away as she could and rushed to her room to get under her bed sheets, feeling extremely scared. But then she heard how someone was unlocking the front door and also heard someone yelling her name again. She thought she was saved and ran downstairs looking for her grandparents, but to her shock, nobody was there. Eli felt lost, puzzled, and scared. She started crying again as she went back upstairs, desperate for that nightmare to end once and for all. But when she arrived, her grandma was right there, or so she thought. When Eli looked at her more closely, she realized something was wrong. Those eyes were filled with hate and didn't look at all like her grandma's loving eyes. That wasn't Eli's grandma, but who was that then? The strange figure then proceeded to say, "Don't you dare answer us." That phrase brought horrible memories to Eli, and suddenly the lights turned off, and she felt like everything around her was moving. That figure got closer until it grabbed Eli's feet. She thought that was her end, but suddenly she heard someone running up the stairs, and then her real grandma entered the room. That strange figure immediately vanished, and Eli and her grandma hugged. Eli's grandma explained that the figure was an evil spirit which takes advantage of people who answer its call, that Eli's mother was a victim of that evil being, and that the spirit cannot do anything when faced by the person it stole the shape from. Eli's grandma had saved her, and Eli would always remember to never, ever respond to them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you on the next episode.